Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2 has arrived, and like the rest of the show, it has remained very consistent. Even though there are still a few things I could talk about in the previous seasons, there is quite a lot I want to talk about in this part. Now, I really like this series. I think it respects the original Karate Kid films and the character of Mr. Miyagi really well, and tells a really engaging and dramatic story with well-written characters that are mostly very relatable. Cobra Kai also knows how to give appropriate fan service to fans of the original series. While the story has remained up to par for the entirety of the show, I did notice some issues on a technical level in Season 6 Part 2. There are problems in the previous seasons as well, but this is the first time I actually noticed them on my first watch through, so let's get right into it. The first thing I noticed is how the lighting sucks during the Sekai Taikai fights. Look at this shot. Who the hell saw this during production and thought, yeah, this looks fine, let's cover the actor's face and blind the viewers? I get that, yeah, these lights will be present for an event like this, but couldn't they tone it down a bit? It's actually so distracting, and it's constant throughout the whole damn tournament. Another thing I noticed is how the ADR in this season is so much worse. The senseis keep making calls like they're backseating. It's okay in several scenes, like the tag team battle because it's kinda relevant, but it's so overused. So often we just hear dialogue clearly just overlaid on footage when we don't even see the actor's face. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, but the way they use it this season is just so off and disjointed. Like, here's a few examples.
Creature's out! Guys, protect Sam. We can't have her go down. Since I got my hands full.
I got Tori! Need some help?
What did you say?
You heard me.
We can see her mouth. She's not saying that at all. How did this make it through editing? Also, one more thing about the audio. There was this really out of place Wilhelm scream that's used, which is very noticeable, but honestly I'll give it a pass because using the sound effect is pretty much only used intentionally as a meme. The fight scenes also feel less energetic than previous seasons, and there are a bit too many cuts during them. Also, the cameras are way too shaky. Like, was the cameraman making milkshakes while rolling? This is especially true during the brawl at the finale, but we'll get to that in a second. And look at this.
Courageously refusing to go down.
What the hell was that? There's just no energy here and you can clearly see them hesitating. They really couldn't do another take with this? What are you swinging at there, buddy? You maybe want to step a bit closer? I also really like how this 37-year-old is picking a fight with a 59-year-old and a 63-year-old. Like, who does he think he is, Jake Paul? I also really hate how the slow motion effect is used so freaking often. Like, sure, it's used to emphasize some of the attacks, but it's so overused this season. Please stop using it, it's making the fight scenes worse most of the time. Now for the free-for-all at the end. Honestly, I did not see this scene coming, but honestly, it wasn't bad. This is a combination of all the drama that's been built up off the mat, so it makes sense this would happen in the context of the story. But I don't understand why the other dojos have an issue. Like, I can understand Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, and maybe Iron Dragon having issues with the others, but I don't know why the others have beef with them. What I don't like is how sloppy the whole scene is. As I mentioned, the fight scenes in this season aren't the best, and it is on full display at this brawl. Yeah, this is essentially a riot, but the high school fight scene in the season 2 finale was similar, but it was shot and edited way better. Actually, the last finale that didn't rely on excessive editing was in season 4, now that I think about it, which is a shame because I really liked the story of the season 5 finale a lot. In season 6 part 2, the brawl just kinda goes on too long. We get to the important fights between the characters who have beef, but otherwise the fight kinda overstays its welcome. This riot lasted around 12 minutes. For reference, the high school brawl lasted around 9. Eventually, I'm just left wondering when the next plot point is supposed to occur. Now it's time to get into the very big spoilers. Yeah, it's been spoilery so far, but if you haven't seen this yet, I recommend turning back now. Kwan's death. First, I want to complain about how Kwan is written. He's pretty much just a generic villain. He's a delinquent, and we aren't really shown why he's such a stinker. He's just a prick who is honestly more of a caricature than Kyle in the previous seasons. He's just an NPC asshole that just wants to be a dick, but in a way that kinda gives him some charm. It definitely makes him entertaining to watch in some sense, but overall his character is pretty bland in my opinion. I feel like there was a lot of missed potential with this character that the writers just couldn't get right. But the best part about him though is the actor. Like, he's definitely giving it his all, and he did an excellent job for this character. Honestly, the actor's probably the reason that Quan isn't completely despicable despite his antics. But let's get back to his death. His death is unintentionally one of the funniest scenes in the entire series. What makes this scene so special is that all of the issues I mentioned earlier are present here. Literally everything. This guy has a knife and instead of using it tries to do a tornado kick and ends up landing on the knife, stabbing himself in the heart. And you can see that Axel barely even touches him. The sound effect does kinda help hide this, but because the slow motion was used here again, it's much easier to see that there was almost no contact between them. Quan never even attempts to use the knife, so it just comes across as this generic NPC doofus just jumping up and messing up the landing, killing himself. The line with Daniel telling him to stop was so badly done and is another example of the bad ADR. And to make it even funnier, the ADR for Quan's dying scream is just downright hilarious.
Quan! No!
I'm not even kidding. I watched the episode for the first time at like 3 AM in the morning and I burst out laughing. This show is funny. There are several times when I did laugh out loud at some of the jokes.
Nice shirt.
Thanks.
I'm joking, it sucks.
But this scene that is supposed to be the darkest in the series is probably the funniest, and it is not on purpose. I'm not even gonna say that the scene itself is bad because I enjoyed it and it does have significance in the story. I do have a problem that although this was supposed to be the darkest part of the series, we don't really care about Quan because as I mentioned, he doesn't really have a lot of qualities that make me care about him, so his death feels empty. Anyways, that's everything I have to say about Season 6 Part 2 of Cobra Kai. I know I just ranted like a bitch this entire video, but I actually did still like it a lot, and that's because the story is just really good. I can overlook a lot of problems in TV shows and films and anime as long as the plot is engaging enough. As I said, the entire series has remained consistent, which in my opinion is an impressive feat for a show with this many seasons. There are several twists and surprises that make the season fun and engaging, and all the characters that we're supposed to care for are well written. We just have Season 6 Part 3 left, and I'm hoping that they just stick the landing. Otherwise, I will be very sad.